Hello there. I'm going to go through letter 2 of Seneca, actually 2 through 5. Letter 4 is missing from the book. Okay, so we got letter 1 missing from the book, and letter 4 is missing. So, again, if you buy this book, you'll be missing those letters. I'm going to try to post the missing letter in the comments, or description, probably in the comments. And so you'd be able to at least read the whole missing letter if you wanted to. And go from there. So yeah, I don't know why the book is. I don't know why this book's missing a bunch of letters from Seneca. Like, seemed like if Seneca was an important guy, they wouldn't be missing the letters. I mean, the introduction. The only hint I have in the introduction is the reason why they're missing letters is there's just a little bit of talk about contacting somebody and awaiting a response. So maybe back in 1964, no, 1969, when this was first published, they didn't have access to all the letters, I guess. But thankfully on the internet, I found some, so we'll be able to go through them. Okay, so first keynote. Okay, so this letter is kind of titled On Discursiveness in Reading. In other words, when you read a book, or when you have a bunch of books, Seneca's talking about, okay, well, if I got so many books to read, which one do I read? I have that problem. I've got so many books, and life, uh, it's like the Twilight Zone. It's like, you don't have all these books. You want to read all these books, but you don't have time to read everything. Um, so you have to. I probably have to start reading just the table of contents and just choosing a chapter, and that's it. But part of the reason why I'm doing this is to help while I learn about Seneca, because I know nothing about Seneca other than what I've had in these prior videos. While I'm learning, you can learn too. So part of these videos is to try to help give you at least a quick summary, because you can just look at the keynotes and not have to read the whole thing. Um, so it might save you a little bit of time as opposed to reading the whole book. But I might miss something that you might find interesting. So that's one reason to read the whole book, especially if you like what you're seeing here. But okay, so my first keynote in letter 2 is Seneca saying, "You do not tear from place to place and unsettle yourself with one move after another. Restless of that sort is symptomatic of a sick mind." So I guess probably have a sick mind because I read a lot of books. So too many different books, too many different topics, but I enjoy it. So what can you say? Uh, but Seneca in this case is talking about to Lucilius. Lucilius, he wants to read all these different books, and he doesn't know which. He's trying to get advice from Seneca about how to approach reading a bunch of different books. Next keynote number 2: to be everywhere is to be nowhere. People who spend their whole life traveling abroad end up having plenty of places where they can find hospitality, but no real friendships. So this quote, to put it into context in the time of the Roman period, that makes sense. Almost 2,000 years ago. But right now, I would say no, because we got the internet, which connects the whole world together. That's one key thing that Seneca didn't know about. And then the other key thing is we've got airplane travel, except we've got a pandemic, so we don't have as much air travel, especially internationally. Um, Hopefully that will end soon. And I'll take my mask off. I'm just not happy to take my mask off. So the way I like to travel is I like to go to some place for a long time. And so, I mean, to agree with Seneca on this is the way most people, if you're working a 9 to 5 job, almost most of the year, you like a typical American only has like 1, 2, 3 weeks of vacation, which is just ridiculous. It's insane. And so, yeah, it is kind of insane. I mean, and Seneca's right in the sense that if you only have 2 or 3 weeks and you spend those 2 or 3 weeks that you have off from your work to travel somewhere, I mean, to go to a place for only 2, 3 weeks, you just barely get the taste of what the place is like. And so when I travel, I like to go for a long time. I mean, I like to go at least a month. Ideally, I mean, in the future, I hope to travel for like 3 months or 6 months. You know, because when you travel that long, you can develop real friendships, real people, great people, and so there's a little bit of truth to what Seneca is saying, and there's also a little bit of information that Seneca did not have, which is Seneca did not know about the internet. Seneca did not know about electronics and how the world can be all connected together instantaneously all the time. So I mean, instead of writing to, having a person walking to carry the letters that he wrote with Lucilius, they could do a video chat, like a live video chat. Say, hey, how you doing, Lucilius? You know, in real time. And so, even though there is what I talked about earlier, the potential problem in the future is video can be in text and voice can so easily be faked in real time. So, I mean, you really do need to be in person, face to face, because, like I said, it's too easily manipulated. But okay, so next keynote number 3. If you're unable to read all the books in your possession, you have enough when you have all the books you are able to read. Okay, so my problem is I probably have at least probably maybe 200 books I haven't read in my possession, which is really bad. So I've got uh, I've got to prioritize my reading. It's like, you know what books are most important to read. Ideally, it's like I try to operate under some basic principles. Like I said, my first principle, and I think Seneca has already kind of talked about this a little bit, is you got to have a great relationship with yourself. So I like books that help you have a great relationship with yourself. And this philosophy of Seneca is actually potentially very good to help you have a great relationship with yourself. Um, and then the second, I like to have great relationships with great people. So, and then something that would give me global mobility, time freedom. Those are the 4 principles that I like to focus on um, when I'm reading or whatever I'm doing. So I think if you have principles that you operate off in your life, they can serve as pillars of guidance, so that you have a good, solid ship to sail in, so to speak. A good rudder and good navigation. Um, okay, so my next keynote number 4. Okay, um, so Seneca here is quoting somebody else, but I feel like opening different books at different times. Okay, I think Lucilius. So Lucilius has got a book addiction like I have, kind of. It's like, oh, I'm gonna open this book. Oh, I stop reading that book. I'll read this another book. Oh, I want to read this book. I want to go read. You just can't read all the books. It's just impossible. Especially now. There's so many more books than in Seneca's time. But I guess there must have been quite a few back then, because it looks like Lucilius has got a book from. I mean, imagine just if Lucilius was alive today, how many books he'd have to cope with. Uh, so he probably like the Twilight Zone, though. The guy's his glasses break. He's trying to read so many books. Um, so, oh, I didn't finish the first quote. So, always read well-tried authors, and if any moment you find yourself wanting to change from a particular author, go back to the ones you read before. So I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, you could say that 80% of the books are rubbish and 20% are high value. Um, maybe, or maybe 5% are super high value, 1% are critically high value. And yeah, I mean, if you could, the key is identifying what's that critical high value book to read. Okay, because we only have so much time in life to read or do whatever. And so he's saying the well-tried authors. So you have to figure out how you identify what are the well-tried authors. You know, that may not necessarily be the most popular authors. I mean, Seneca, I think, was kind of a rediscovered. If you read the introduction in this book, I mean, it was like he was kind of an oppressed figure in history. Um, I mean, for one thing, he was sentenced to death by multiple emperors, three different emperors. Um, escaped death twice, and the third one it finally got him. But so it's interesting about going back to the ones you've read before. I mean, I guess yeah. I mean, there's some books I read I like to go back to. I mean, repetition just helps you learn something more if you repeat it, if you expose yourself to it over and over again. In this quote earlier about going from place to place, it's the same idea with books. So if you live in different places, I mean, I do think it's good to have a home base, like a core book base that you like, that helps you live on your principles. Okay, so the next keynote is number 5. A cheerful poverty is an honorable state. It's a quote by Epicurus. Seneca is quoting. And then Seneca says, but if it is cheerful, it is not poverty at all. It is not the man who has too little who is poor, but the man who hankers after more. So, yeah, what he's saying is uh, true wealth is having exactly what you need, and you don't need anything more. But then again, you stop breathing because if you don't need any more oxygen, you die, or you don't need more food, you die. So you take that to the extreme, and you gotta be practical. But he's just saying that you could be really wealthy and still not be happy. Still not be happy because you're always wanting more. You've taken it to such an extreme. Um, so you will never be content. Okay, next keynote number 6. You ask what is the poor limit? No, what is the proper limit to a person's wealth? First, having what is essential, and second, having what is enough. So, um, yeah, I mean, essential is survival. I mean, people live paycheck to paycheck, so they're at the essential level. Um, and in some ways, I feel like I'm kind of at an essential level. I've not achieved what is enough. I mean, look, this is my super fancy office space with tape. I got like a heat shield because it's so freaking hot outside. Kind of keep the thermodynamic heat transfer. You know, you don't want too much heat to come inside. Is this enough? Yeah, it's enough. Uh, but I could do better, and I don't want to be complacent. Complacency is a big problem. I think I've been. I said earlier I wasted 10 years of my life in social media. Part of the reason why was because I was complacent. Um, and complacency is like stagnation. And it's good to be a little bit ambitious, but the more people who are in peace of mind in this world, the better the world's going to be. So there's a critical aspect of this is to try to help as many people as you can, besides yourself, to have tranquility of mind. Okay? If you have tranquility of mind, you can have a much more peaceful world, a much more much better world. So that makes the world a better place. The more minds we have that are in tranquility, or at least some level of tranquility, the better off we are. So how do we get there? That's one of the reasons why I'm reading this. I think there might be some information here that's useful for that. Okay, letter 3 on true and false friendships. Um, First keynote on letter 3. If you're looking on anyone as a friend when you do not trust him, as you trust yourself, you are making a grave mistake and have failed to grasp sufficiently the full force of true friendship. Those people who judge a man after they have made him their friend instead of the other way around certainly put the cart before the horse. So what Seneca is just saying is that you want to be sure you choose the right friends. If you want to have great relationships with great people, you need to be sure that you judge them before you allow them to be your friend. And you see, like if you're a property manager and you want to have a good tenant, I don't know if this is a great analogy, but if you don't screen people, it's bad for your life. It's bad for your business. If you don't judge people before you allow them to be part of your world, part of your life, if you don't judge them sufficiently well enough and robustly, and yeah, that's putting the cart before the horse because you'll be in a bind when you find out the person's um, should never have been qualified to be a friend. And I think everybody can make that kind of mistake almost. I mean, it's not easy to objectively judge people, but he's just saying you want to do it before you allow anyone in your life. So and it's not and it's pretty clear to me that most people are not good at that because I mean just look at the divorce rate in the United States is like almost 50%. So it's like uh, many people are not doing a very good optimal job at judging people before they commit to somebody. And that's not easy to do. So maybe he has some other hints on that. Next keynote, keynote number 2, trusting everyone is as much a fault as trusting no one. So that's just the two extremes. I myself kind of lean on not trusting anyone, not even myself. Sometimes, uh, but Seneca is saying both is a fault. You can't just trust everyone. You can't just trust no one. You have to find a balance. Okay, so next keynote, I've got number 3 here. Some men have shrunk so far into dark corners that some men have shrunk so far into dark corners that objects in bright daylight seem quite blurred to them. So this quote kind of reminds me of Allegory of the Cave. I don't know if you're familiar with Allegory of the Cave. It's basically a story of philosophy where these prisoners are tied inside a cave and all they can see is the shadows from the fire. And so the shadows that walk by on the wall, they see shadows on the wall, and their whole life, that's all they see. So if they get freed and go out of the cave into the light, and it's so bright, it's hard for them to absorb the perception, like a higher level perception. Um, Next quote is: "Ask nature, she will tell. Ask nature, she will tell you she made both day and night." You know, it's like yin and yang, paradoxes everywhere. Okay, so I'm gonna need to move this up a little bit. Hopefully you'll see. Okay, so now I'm going to letter four. Letter four, if you can. Letter four is okay. This is one of the missing letters from the paper book. Okay, so we're missing letter one, missing letter four, missing letter 10 for some reason. However, I found them on the internet. So what I'm gonna do is, like I said, try to remind me if I don't to post the letter in the comments. Try to do that. That's missing. The letters that are missing. Okay, so my first keynote, number one, number five section I got off the internet. Now rehearse this thought every day that you may be able to depart from life contentedly. For many men clutch and cling to life, even as those who are carried down a rushing stream clutch and cling to briars and sharp rocks, like the bushes and things, on the edge of the river, in a storm, like a flood or something. This letters on the terrors of death. So what Seneca is just saying here is that if you allow yourself to think about death every day, or your end, or your demise when it's all over, um, that when it does happen, and it's going to happen, sadly, but it's a fact, that when you do depart, that you depart life from life contently. In other words, contentedly. In other words, fully satisfied. Um, One of the things I like to do is like listen to people that are over 100 years old and just find out what their thoughts are, what their regrets are, what they wished were. And I think a lot of them have been just the regrets have been not trying to do things, not doing things. It's been their regrets, so it's important in life to do what you. This bucket list idea. It's like if you have your bucket list and say, okay, these are all the things I plan to do before I die. So you just check all as many off as you can before you check out, and then that way you can die contently. And I guess a way to be motivated to check off that bucket list or build that bucket list and check off the bucket list is to every day, if you look at, no, I should follow my own advice because I'm not doing this yet, but to find out all the things you want to do before you die, you list them down, prioritize them because you want to do the most highest priority ones first. Because if you die early, you won't finish the list. So yeah, and then and then if you meditate on your own death every day, you're like, okay, I need to do this item on the bucket list. And so, um, oops, I realized I didn't have it highlighted there. Uh, so so yeah, it just shows you um, how valuable it is to meditate on your death every day. Even though it's sad, but I think in a way, it makes you rejoice because then you know that each day you're doing the best you can to experience life to the maximum level you possibly can. Because as far as we know, we only have one. It's this one, and so we got to make the best out of it that we can. And if you're not meditating on your on the end or the death, you won't be motivated to go down the bucket list and start doing those things on your bucket list. And I need to listen to my own advice because I realize I should be going through a bucket list. I don't even have a bucket list really, so I need to probably have one. I have principles of operation, but I don't have a bucket list. But maybe I can develop some bucket list based on my principles. But I don't know. I'm just talking out loud here, so I mean, just thinking about this, reading this and thinking again, it's like, yeah, you really need to have a bucket list, and you really need to start following. Try to start. Okay, if you meditate on your death, you prioritize your list and go start focusing on the top items on your bucket list and getting them checked off. Because any one of us can die anytime. You hope you at least check off one on your bucket list before you die, because then you won't die contentedly. So, once you get that first one checked off, at least you have some level of contentedness. I mean, I feel pretty well content, but I do know there are things that I would like to check off. But I haven't even written a list down. So that's something that I probably need to do after this. Write a bucket list. I think there's a movie called A Bucket List. Some old guys out, some old men were out just checking off their bucket list, and there's some movie on it. Can't remember the name of the movie. I think it's called Bucket List. Okay, next keynote number 2. Uh, Poverty brought into conformity with the law of nature is great wealth. Do you know what limits that law of nature ordains us? Merely to avert hunger, thirst, and cold and heat. I had heat in there. In order to banish hunger, because I'm living in a hot desert, it's like I need air conditioning. Be cool. In order to banish hunger and thirst, it is not necessary for you to pay court at the doors of the purse proud, or to submit to the stern frown, or to the kindness that humiliates. Nor is it necessary for you to scour the seas or go campaigning. Nature's needs are easily provided and ready to hand. He who has made a fair contact with poverty is rich. Um, yeah, I mean, it just kind of goes. I mean, I think maybe this is how Seneca became wealthy. Is he realized this principle that if you live in poverty, um, you can acquire wealth by not spending any money, practically hardly any money at all, um, and then investing that money. While most people, like I say, most people their income goes up, their expenses go up with it, and then they just end up being a trap instead of doing the opposite. My guess is Seneca's, and a lot of the Stoics would do the opposite, and that's how they became wealthy. Uh, so yeah, uh, poverty is brought into conformity with the law of nature. It's a great world. So it's like if you conform to what your minimalism. It's called minimalism. To me, I love minimalism. I'm a minimalist. I'm a minimalist myself, and I know I can grow even further if I take other steps of minimalism. But and I want to. I probably will. Uh, But that allows you to maximize your what you can do. If you can do more and more with less and less, that's how you free yourself from monetary slavery, essentially. Okay, letter 5 on the philosopher's name. Um, got a few keynotes here for this. First keynote, this one piece of advice: refrain from following the example of those whose craving is for attention, not their own improvement, by doing certain things which are calculated to give rise to comment on your appearance or way of living generally. So, excuse me. Just yeah. I mean, obviously, I don't care too much about my appearance. I would, I got tape right here. Of course, I keep mentioning it, so maybe I do care about it. But if I really cared about my appearance, I probably wouldn't allow you to see all this plastic tape and shielding and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, a lot of YouTubers just say, "Oh, please like and subscribe." It's like I don't care if you like. Actually, I almost don't want to have many subscribers or viewers because I'm kind of an introvert, and I'm just on this because we're in a pandemic, and I'm just like going, well, I don't want to be in a pandemic, and I want this to end, just like I think most people, get out of the way. And part of it getting it to end is wearing a mask, and that's why I'm wearing a mask. I figure, well, if I wear a mask, I can be a little bit anonymous in YouTube, so I kind of like that. So, okay. Uh, okay, the next keynote here, number 2. Inwardly, everything should be different, but our outward face should conform to the crowd. So, right now, I'm kind of conforming because I'm wearing a mask, but I don't really just want to wear a mask in a store. But I think a lot of I don't know if there's any other YouTubers out there wearing masks in their vlog, or video log. Probably there's got to be somebody. I'll have to check on that. I don't know if I'm the only one doing this. But, if not, then I'm not conforming. Um, but he's saying it inwardly everything should be different. What he's saying is most people are in they have storms in the mind, and the Stoic is the one that's able to be able to handle all the storms in the mind, so to speak. And so that's how it's inwardly different. That's how I view it. It's inwardly different is mentally robust to the storms inside the mind. Okay. So the next keynote I got here. Hopefully you can read small, tiny text up there. If you got a huge screen TV, then you can probably read it. I don't know. Your phone is probably too small to read now. Okay, so number 3, the first thing philosophy promises us is the feeling of fellowship or belonging to mankind. And being members of a community, being different will mean the banning of that manifesto. Okay, so, uh, yeah, I mean, just, if you're, yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about that. I just don't want to stand out. I don't blame him. I don't want to stand out either. Okay. Number 4, keynote. Our motto is to live in conformity with nature. It is quite contrary to nature to torture one's body, to reject simple standards of cleanliness, and make a point of being dirty. To adopt a diet that is not just plain, but hideous and revolting. Yeah, he's just saying, just try to be normal as a Stoic. I guess internally you're not normal, or internally you're more relaxed. Okay. Keynote number 5. Anyone entering our home should admire us rather than our furnishings. Furnish. Look how wonderful my spelling is. Finding wealth and intolerable burden is the mark of unstable mind. Two interesting quotes. Um, yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with that. And that's probably a good way to test somebody as a friend is just have a totally horrible furnishings. And if they reject you based on that, then they don't deserve to be your company. The way I look at it. I guess I see that quote. This other part of the quote is a little bit farther off from the first one. Finding wealth and intolerable burden is a mark of an unstable mind. I guess what he's saying there is that's a good quote. Um, of wealth being an intolerable burden. So I guess if you don't have your assets, so to speak, or what what is defines your wealth or whatever structure you have. Um, if you were to grow your wealth, it could become an intolerable burden because all of a sudden you got all these things, more and more, buildings or properties to worry about. So that I guess uh, but I guess if it's scaled properly, where okay, you got like a couple of key people that are managing all these other, just gazillion other things underneath, then it's not an intolerable burden. It's just you have a good structure so that it's no longer an intolerable burden. And I guess that's what he's saying because maybe he's observing people who are wealthy have all these properties or whatever, all these assets or liabilities. Some of them maybe unstable assets where they become liabilities. Uh, and so they may feel it's an intolerable burden to have all these properties. So I can see both ways. Um, so if one does become really wealthy, they need to be able to have the structure that's good enough where they don't have to worry about this whole thing that's this pyramid, so to speak. That's structure is sound and strong underneath and robust, such that okay, it's not a, it's a less and less it's a less and less burden. It becomes more and more tolerable as it grows. So I guess it's like it's a well scaled structure as opposed to unstable structure of some kind that becomes a burden. Okay, so next keynote number 6. Uh, fears, fear keeps pace with hope. Both belong to mind and suspense. To mind in a state of anxiety through looking into the future, both are mainly due to projecting our thoughts far ahead of us instead of adapting ourselves to the present. I think that's why people are depressed. You know, I think depression is kind of a paradox in terms of your level of intelligence. Because if you're super intelligent, you will think about all these things in the future and use all the things that happened in the past. And try to have a hyperly vigilant model of the future, such that your predictive model is very powerful, but it can also make you depressed because you see all the horrible things that can happen in the future, or how the world is. Your mind's calculating all these probabilities. Uh, so that's the dark side of having intelligence. And the big brain is you suffer from anxiety because you're projecting your thoughts in the future and in the past. And so what Seneca is trying to say is if you're in the present, you don't have all these depressive feelings and anxiety and everything. If you live in the if you live in the present, I think one of the quotes earlier I said in one of the earlier videos is if you perceive the present as the entire sum of infinite future and infinite past, all as one in this moment right now, it actually can be a calming thought, especially if you perceive the universe as fully deterministic based on laws of physics. Uh, I can see that making a, a tranquil mind because there's nothing to worry about because you know that everything is already predetermined. Uh, then it comes the question: do we have free will and all that stuff? I think Sam Harris was talking about free will, and he may not have free will. I mean, that's if that's true, then it's like then all the decisions we make are really just illusions, which is would be really interesting to weird, strange. But then it's like, okay, you don't have to worry about anything. All the decisions you're making are already predetermined, and you're just on for a ride. And if you quote Bill Hicks, the choice between fear and love. Interesting thoughts. Okay, next keynote number 7. Oh, I'll try to put the video of Bill Hicks and George Carlin. I always like to call it Big Electron, or it's a it's just a ride. It's really a good little. There's like a little song with it and everything. So I'll put the link to the YouTube video. Um, it's just a ride. Yeah, Bill Hicks and George Carlin are great comedians. They're no longer with us, but in comedy, there's incredible views of truth that are expressed in the most uh, visceral way. Okay, so keynote number 7: wild animals run from the dangers they actually see, and once they have escaped them, worry no more. We, however, are tormented alike by what is past and what is to come. Especially if your brain is like extremely predictive and future. I mean, it tries to think too far ahead, too far back. It's tormenting. That's the paradox of having a big brain. I think that's why people invented religion, because it tries to put kind of some emotional stability in the operating system, but maybe local stability, not global stability. But, okay, so we, however, are tormented alike by what is past and what is to come. Remember, our blessings do us harm, for memory brings back the agony of fear, while foresight brings it on prematurely. No one confines his unhappiness to the present. Yeah, so in the present, if you're truly in the present moment, you have the power to choose happiness or to choose love, so to speak, instead of fear. And that's it. 44 minutes here. I hope you all enjoyed this and learned something. Maybe you disagree with something. Maybe you didn't learn something. Maybe you learned something useful. Maybe you learned something not useful. I don't know. Uh, but yeah, it's fascinating to look into the mind of somebody that lived over 2,000 years ago or was born over 2,000 years ago. That's a long time ago. how many generations of people would that be? Let's just say, like, almost like 100 generations ago. Uh, yeah, in a way, you're talking to the ancestors of. I mean, the farther back in time you go, the higher the probability that the person that you or that's writing or has writing or something, the higher the probability you have some uh, relationship to. I mean, in terms of genetic ancestral relationship, because yeah, the farther back in time you go, I mean, the number of people that you're related to each generation you go back is multiplied by two. So, like, okay, your parents got parents, that becomes four, and those parents have parents, so it's like the number doubles, right? Or almost doubles. Maybe not exactly. Okay, so I hope you're doing okay. It's still very hot here in the valley of the desert, Arizona. Every day is like it's 40 degrees Celsius, or over 110. Anyways, slowly get through this book, and like I said, we'll try to capture all the missing letters, and maybe even try to understand why a lot of these letters are missing. I mean, maybe in 1969, some censor, some person didn't want the public to know a certain number of letters. They left them out. But thankfully, later you can see it on the internet. Don't know if it's the original one or not. Translation may be wrong or something, but who knows? Anyways, you take care. Have a good night. Stay safe. Don't forget to wear your mask. Get this pandemic over with. Have a good night. Good day. Good morning. Good afternoon.